your sales operation is measurable. There are 3 levels to building a wildly profitable sales team. And if you skip even one of them, your closer will underperform, you will jump back on calls to save the month, and you won't move your business an inch for months on repeat. And I'm saying this because I've seen it firsthand. After closing over $10 million on calls myself and helping build sales teams that close at 60 to 85% month over month, I've seen that most offer owners are stuck at level 1 or level 2, and they have no idea that level 3 even exists, or they just have no idea on how to get there. And the only thing standing between where you are right now and having a team that closes at your closing rate or even better without you taking a single call is understanding how these 3 levels connect. And that's exactly what I'm about to break down in this video. So let's start with level 1, because this is where a lot of people are going to feel called out. So before you even think about hiring a closer, there's something most offer owners completely overlook. And it's the reason why the first time you hire a closer, they're most likely going to fail. See, what I typically see is an offer owner that's been closing their own deals, usually doing anywhere from 20 to maybe 40K a month. And they're mostly closing on warm traffic, organic referrals, maybe a tiny bit of ads, but mostly people that already, know them, trust them. So they feel like their close rate is solid, and now they start booking more calls and they feel like they need somebody to take all of these calls. But the moment they then bring somebody in, keep trying to ramp up call volume, increase ad spend, increase cold traffic calls, the system completely falls apart and they have no idea why. So they blame the closer, they blame the leads, but the real issue is that they don't understand their sales process well enough to be able to hand it off. See, if you've been closing deals because you have rapport with your audience and you're the business owner, because what's actually happening on your calls when you close is all instinct. You know exactly when to ask the hard question, you know when somebody's guard's up and you have to pull back, and you can tell when somebody's ready to move forward and you go in for the kill. But the problem is none of that is written down anywhere. Those are just your skills. And when a new closer comes in and they watch your call recordings, they see what you did and they just see somebody who's good at sales. They don't see the thinking behind it, or they don't know why you asked that question at that point, or what made you push for the close right then and there. So they try to copy the surface of what you do without understanding the mechanics underneath it. And that's exactly why they can't replicate your numbers, because you never gave them those mechanics. You just gave them a seat on your sales team and said, go get it done. So to get to level 2, you need to be able to sit somebody who is brand new down and walk them through the entire sales process step by step. Tell them exactly what questions to ask, in what order, what to listen for, what not to listen for, as in, what doesn't matter, and when to push. Because if you cannot do that, it does not make sense to even hire somebody to do that. Now, most people feel good about level 1 and just jump right to hiring. And this is where I've seen the most damage done, because there's something between being the one who closes every single deal and building a team around it that almost nobody else talks about. This is the reason why I see offer owners that are doing 50, 80, 100K a month or more cycle through 2, 3, 4, even 5 closers sometimes in just 12 months. They're crushing it on their own calls, scaling well past what one person can handle on their own. And so obviously they just decide it's time to bring in a closer. So they find somebody through posting on a story or through a mutual connection or by posting in a Facebook group, bring them on, throw them on the calendar, and just expect them to start crushing it. The CRM is barely organized. There's nothing documented for onboarding. And let's face it, even if you're doing well, are you qualified enough to be doing the call reviews for that closer? So the closer comes in, has no idea on how to navigate the business, leads start falling through the cracks, and deals aren't getting followed up with. And the worst part is, a lot of those leads were actually qualified. They booked calls, they showed up, and they were ready to buy. But because there's nobody catching them, they fall through and go buy from somebody else. And the worst part is, most offer owners have no idea how many leads are actually slipping through the cracks because they're not tracking this data properly either. And once again, just like in level 1, the business owner blames the closer. But the closer didn't actually fail them. The business just wasn't built for somebody else to sell inside of. And most offer owners don't ever see this because they've never had to think about their business from somebody else's perspective. When you're the one running everything, you know where the leads are. You know the follow-up process because it lives in your head. And you know which clients need to be pushed and which ones need to be followed up with. But the second you hire somebody and somebody else walks in, all of that invisible knowledge that lives up here becomes a massive blind spot. And I know this part isn't really that sexy to talk about, but it's the most important piece of this entire video. Because before you bring anyone on, your business has to be built so a brand new person can walk in, sit down, and know exactly what to do without you having to explain a single thing. And when level 2 is done right, your closer opens up the CRM on day 1, and every lead is sitting there with the status, notes from every touch point, and a follow-up date already set. There's a script in their onboarding folder built directly from the process that you locked in during level 1, and there's a doc breaking down the confirmation process, what the follow-up cadence is, how the calendar gets managed, and what to do if a lead gets cold. On top of that, every week you're having call reviews and you're giving them specific feedback on where they lost the deal or where the money was left on the table. So they're getting better after every single call, not making the same mistake time and time again. So your CRM, your scripts, follow-up processes, onboarding SOPs have to be ready for somebody who isn't you. This is the difference between being a business owner that just has too many calls and being a CEO, and that's level 2. And this is the level where I see most business owners that are doing typically 50 to 100K a month completely stall out without understanding why their closers are underperforming. But real quick, if you're watching this and you could already feel which level is missing inside of your business, I'll leave a link below to book a call with our team. We'll look at what you've got, what you're missing, and build out the exact plan to help you get to level 3. And speaking of level 3, this is where things get really juicy, because when level 1 and level 2 are done the right way, level 3 almost feels too easy. And I don't say this to hype it up. I've just seen it enough times that when the system is actually built right, the right hire fits perfectly into that puzzle. But most people never get there because they hire from a gut feeling based off of one Zoom call. But that's not how you vet salespeople. Confidence on a Zoom call and the ability to actually close a deal on your specific offer with your specific audience are two totally different things. However, most offer owners don't realize that until 2 weeks have gone by and nothing that's on their calendar is getting closed. What I look for is obviously some level of experience, but I'm not just talking experience as in numbers or what somebody's done before. I'm talking experience as in process, right? You actually want to have somebody role play on these calls with you to understand that they've had experience actually doing a good, thorough discovery process. And I don't care if that person's taken 10,000 sales calls. I don't care if that person's brand new to sales, but they've actually been trained the right way from the get and they have a good discovery process after taking 10 sales calls, right? What matters is the experience relevant? Okay. The other thing I look for is, does this person have income outside of just what they're doing right now? A lot of times, right, I actually want somebody to know how to make money outside of just, this job, okay? And the reason why is I don't want them to be on my calls in a scarcity mindset. I want them to perform. I want them to have a good reason why they want to work for my company and why they want to make money. But I don't want them to be totally reliant because they're coming into a new offer, a new opportunity. And what that means is there's going to be a learning curve. Now, your role as a business owner is to help them go through that learning curve as smoothly and as efficiently as possible, right? But the main thing is I want them to be bought in. And a lot of times, closers have this false perception that they're gonna come in and make, $10,000 their first week, right? So I wanna know where somebody's at in their stage. I want them to be hungry. I want them to wanna prove themselves, but I don't want them to be in desperation or not competent enough on how to make money outside of just what I'm doing. And lastly, I think something important to touch on is, do you vibe with the person you're going to hire, right? Would you be friends with them? Because you and your sales department need to have a very close relationship. You guys need to be in contact all the time. Would you hang out with this person? Do you want them just to make money, or would you actually hang out with them? Would you be friends with them? You want them to feel like they're building this with you. You need to have a good relationship, right? Your job is to make their job as easy as possible. And that means you need to be on good terms with them. They need to be bought in. And if you guys don't really like each other, I don't think it's sustainable for having them for a long period of time. It might be sustainable for a few weeks or a few months, but we want somebody who's really going to help you build your company at the end of the day. These are just a few things that I look for. There's different ways to go about looking for these things, but it really just depends on what you feel like is most important for you. But I would say you want to vet somebody based on who is going to be the most sustainable hire for my offer, for my company in the long term. I'm talking years on end. Who's the person that's most likely to be with you 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now if you continue to build this company? Now, once you've found the right person, the first week on your offer is everything. Because if you just throw them on live calls without any ramp up, you're going to not only lose deals, you're going to kill their confidence, and then they're not going to be bought into you or the opportunity anymore. You can find the most talented closer out there, but if you hand them a calendar full of live calls with no mock calls, no real walkthrough of how you pitch the offer, no conversation about how to navigate pricing and how to handle just some of the common objections that you get, they're going to stumble. And every deal they lose in the first week is a deal that should have closed if the onboarding was done right. So what I like to do week 1 is actually give the closer, a centralized document with all of the assets about, the marketing, the sales process, past call recording, scripts. Give them everything to review and just give them, a few days to go through, digest that, have maybe a group chat with them, see if they have any questions, check in with them, see how they're making out with that. Then I like to schedule a call for later that week to maybe do some role playing, some mock calls, answer any questions, okay? By this point as well, right? Like you want to focus on all the admin stuff as well first when you onboard them, right? So I mean like getting them set up in the CRM with the email, getting them inside of all of that. I want to knock all of the admin stuff out of the way first, so that way we're not really focused on that. So that way we can put all of our attention onto just the sales process and just getting them good at closing, comfortable with the pitch, financing, stuff like that, right? So just to reiterate, get them onboarded, get them set up with everything, tackle the administrative stuff, okay? Then give them all of the sales and marketing assets, give them a few days to digest all of that, then get back on with them, see if they have any questions about the admin stuff, role play with them if they're ready, help them, set up their calendar, see how they're feeling. If they want a few more days to review some calls, that's fine. Then put them on the calendar. And when you get there, your closer is sitting on calls converting at 40 to 70%. Your pipeline is moving without you touching it. You're not worried about leads because you know your closer has it and you haven't had to take a call in weeks. That's exactly what happened with my client Zishan. He was doing 30K a month handling every sales call himself, and he couldn't step away for a day without losing revenue. So I brought him through all 3 levels. We documented the entire sales process so it could actually be taught. Built out every system in his back end, from his CRM to his onboarding doc and the follow-up cadence. And then we placed a closer on his offer. Within 30 days, his closer was on calls, closing at 85%. Now, that's pretty high, but that just shows how easy of a time the closer actually had ramping up on this offer. And Zishan went from 30K a month to 60K a month without touching a single sales call. And for Zach Colburn, the same thing happened. I actually was his top closer for 3 years. So I knew his sales process inside out. But when it was time for me to step away and build his team, we went through every level the same way. We built the process out, systemized the back end, placed 2 reps, and that team is now closing at 60% and they're hitting record months. So I literally built myself out of the job and they got better without me. And that's the whole point. A wildly profitable sales process does not depend on one person because the system is what carries the weight and the people are plugged into it. Now, the tricky part is everything has to be built around your specific offer, your niche, your sales process, and your price point. And the difference between getting that right and almost getting that right is the difference between a closer who converts day 1 and a closer who's gone in 30 to 60 days. So if you want to get it right the first time, that's exactly what we do at Scale with Sales. We come in, diagnose what level you're at, build out your sales process so it can be taught to others, set up your entire back end from your CRM to scripts to onboarding, and place a closer on your offer who's ready to produce at a high level. So if you want to see how that'll work for your business, I'll leave a link in the description for you to book a call with our team. Other than that, if you found this video valuable, let me know by leaving a like so I know to make more content like this, and I'll see you in the next one.